loving people, really cared about me. It took me when I was 1 year old. They were in their 50s when they took me on. And they were spiritually centered people, sort of non-denominational, but they were there, okay, for me. And they taught me a lot of things. Just because they were limited in their formal education does not make you a bad person, by the way. I tell all my students, she knows that, and that's this. Just because you don't speak correctly or write correctly, that's the things you can learn. It doesn't make you good or bad. It certainly doesn't make you a bad person. You'll learn those things in school. School is very important to open up a lot of doors for you. Okay, so my grandparents, I stayed with them till I lived with them, and I'll never forget what they did for us. We didn't have books, we didn't have a television, we didn't have a car, we didn't have a telephone, we had a little radio in place, but no televisions. We didn't. I had my first car when I was 27. That's another story. That's that I bought for myself. And but I stayed with my grandparents from 1 year old until 13. Every evening after we had our pot of beans, or whatever my parents would fit for everything, I never had any kind of fresh vegetables or fruit or anything like that. For those 12 years I lived with them. It was always beans or a pot of this or a chili or a stew that my grandmother would make. My grandparents were very interesting people because we were the only white family on that floor. We were on the 6th floor of one of these 10-story towers. But they reached out to people. And we had little gatherings together like we're doing here in our little we all had 2 rooms like that. None of us had that. The toilet was out in that hall. We all used that anyway. So sometimes we'd meet together. And it was very important to me. That's how I learned about everybody has needs. Everybody cares and can care about each other. Because we're all, every one of you in this room, I'm going to use the word, you're my brother or sister in Christ. Even this old man says that to you. I'm more like your granddad in fact, okay? But I'm so pleased to be here. Let me go and share some things with you. So one night, just before they came, we had one room where we slept. They put a pallet for me. We didn't have a bed for me, but we put some blankets on the floor and a pillow, and that's where I slept those 12 years I was with them. And they were right across the room. They had a little double bed. And then we had then my grandmother put a sheet in the middle of those 2 rooms because she taught me to take a sponge bath. Since we didn't have showers and bathtubs and all that stuff where we lived, we had to go to that bathhouse down the line. And so you go to the kitchen sink, she put a dish pan in it, then she'd heat the stove because it was cold water sink. We didn't have heat of water. So she would take it, heat the water, put it in the sink and pour it in there. And then she said, here's what you do. She gave me a washcloth, a towel, and a little bar of soap. She said, now you're going to have what we call a sponge bath. So she taught me to take a bath right in front of the sink, see? So that's how we got our baths. Everyone was going to the bathhouse. So it was interesting physical involvement, but it taught me a great many things. They kept everything so clean. They were so organized. My grandmother would do that little cooking, and my grandfather and we would stand until she came to the table. It taught us a lot of things. Taught me how to be a man to take care of a woman, because I saw how he loved my grandmother. They taught me a lot about what a relationship should be. They cared about each other. They touched, they had their arms around each other. We had prayer before we had breakfast, and prayer before they sent off to school. And it was a wonderful time. And we didn't have books in that time. We didn't have newspapers or books. But my grandfather would tell me stories. He'd make them up when I was a little guy. But they always tell me a story, and they have prayer with me, and they have a pallet before I go to bed. So I was very fortunate to have those people. My life wasn't around. But they were willing to take that little boy on, especially in their 50s, and then lose their daughter, we took off. Assume we never met that man. She didn't know him, and I didn't know him. One night, after we finished eating, we always take a little walk. So we went down, they had a little elevator, we went down an elevator. Walked up, there's a playground. We're walking down the street, my grandparents were like, they were about that door, I'm here. And 2 gangs came by. They were in cars, and they were shooting at each other. And my grandparents were up in front of me, and as those cars came by, they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, because they got in a crossfire, and they were killed. By the time I got to my grandparents, I hit that pavement, they were dead. I'm 13 years old. Who's 13 or 14? Let me see your hands. That was very hard for me. I didn't have any other parents. I didn't have anybody else. To lose my people who loved me. Still people touched by it. But you know, after we buried them, we buried them in Potter's Field. You know, that's a field where you put people away and bury them free. No tombstone, no, nothing like that. And that's where they were put. And the government did that for us. And now at the age of 13, I had to move out of projects. So I went to the YMCA, Young Men's Christian Association. They also have YWs all over the country. I think Dothan has a YMCA, small building there. And I was able to stay there free for about 3 weeks. And then I went to the Salvation Army, which was this is downtown. This is right in the city of St. Louis, all the time, not the suburbs. And so I was able to go to the Salvation Army, had a soup kitchen. And that's where I had my dinner every night, in the Salvation Army soup kitchen. So did mine and all the other street people. One night I was coming home from the soup kitchen, and there was a sign in the window. This little bitty, we used to call them rinky-dink restaurant, little greasy spoon restaurant. This wasn't as big as this one right here. And there was a sign, dishwasher needed. Well, I didn't have any money, I didn't have a penny to my name. I was getting that free dinner, and then at the YMCA they had lunch for us. So I was 13. I was going to start high school that fall. This all happened in the summer. And I started high school. I was going to be a ninth grader, first year of high school when I was 13. In our days, we didn't have middle schools and junior highs. You'd have 8 grades in one building. It's called elementary school, K through 8. These youngsters here. And then you went to a 4-year high school. So I went to that restaurant, and the man said, "What do you want?" I said, "Well, sir, I see a sign. You want a dishwasher." He said, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 13. He said, "Well, I can't hire you. You have to be 16. So I turned around to go, and he said, "Hold it. I think I can get a special permit for that. And if you come back, it was on a Friday. You come back on Monday, let's see if I get that special permit. You can wash dishes." He says, "Because I own the place, I'm the dishwasher, I'm the cook, and I with the tables." And he says, "I need a dishwasher." So I came back on that Monday. It's still the summer. I wasn't in high school yet. I came back down that evening, and he said, "I got the job. You got the job. I got your permit. You can start. It's coming Saturday." So here I had a little job, making 35 cents an hour. It's a lot of money then. You believe that or not? But because let me just tell you, a loaf of bread cost 10 cents then. You go to a movie for 25 cents. Get you in the movie, get you something to drink, a popcorn, 25 cents. A gallon of gas costs 25 cents a gallon. So in those days, 35 cents is pretty good money. Doesn't sound like it today. You can't buy a stick of gum for 35 cents. Anyway, a candy bar. But so I had that to do, and then it was getting near time. My 3 weeks almost up at the YMCA, and so I told the man who owned the restaurant, I said, "You know, I'm trying to get ready here to go to high school. It's coming up soon. This is in June, July. This is September. School starts." He said, "I said I have to get out there. They need that room." So he said, "I'm going to tell you what. I got a friend down the street here. This is all still downtown St. Louis." He said, and he owns a big apartment building, 10-story apartment building, but his office is in there because he owns a lot of different kinds of property, commercial property, residential. Maybe we can find a place for you to live. So we got the appointment, and he and I went down to that man's office, and so the 3 of us were sitting in his office. Nice gentleman, welcomed us there, and said, we told him what my situation was. And he said, "I'll tell you what, follow me." So he got up out of his chair. We followed him, and he went down in this big building, and we got in the furnace room. And he said, "I'll tell you what, I'm going to get you a cot, put it over here." And it's a big furnace room because it's a giant building, big water heaters, furnace room, and all kinds of stuff there. So he says, "I've got a shower over here. It's a safety shower. If you ever go to chemistry class in high school, they might have a shower in case somebody gets chemical out. Well, that kind of thing. You pull the chain, and the janitors used it during the day, the maintenance people." And he said, "I can fix you a cot over here. We'll get you a table, and you can live over here." So my new employer, the man from the restaurant, said, "Well, how much will it cost? I can take care of it for you." The man said, he can live here free during his 4 years of high school. One of the things I didn't tell you, but my grandparents did know a very important thing. They were both spiritually centered people, just wonderful people. They had nice prayer all the time, taught me a lot of things. Taught me a work ethic. It's a work ethic. You might know what a work ethic is. Tell me what a work ethic is. Okay, here it is. Start a job, you finish a job. Be on time. Why would you want to be on time? Well, the people who are waiting for you, Their time is just as important as yours, if not more important. Take pride in your work. Those things are what we call work ethic, and I learned that from my grandmother. They also did the very most important things I ever had in my life. They led me to Christ. They sowed the seeds. Because we would go down to a place about the size of here. Non-denominational. It wasn't Baptist, it wasn't Presbyterians, it wasn't anything. It was just non-denominational. Just like we have here. And that's where I went to Sunday school, and that's where I went to church. And that's where I accepted Christ as my personal Savior. That's 9 years old. Well, I give you that because here I'm finding myself at the age of 13, just a few years later, living in this furnace room, getting ready to go to school that fall, working down the street, just a couple blocks away, in that restaurant, washing dishes. And I had to start. So here's my journey starting. Somebody has to invest in your journeys. Mr. Dell is who he is because people invested in me all my life. The man who gave me that first job. The people in the place who took care of me when I was in that YMCA thing. Really. They invested in me. You're going to have a lot of people invested. You have people here investing in you. Look at the adults around you. They're here because they care about you, because they love you. You're their Christian brothers and sisters too. And they care about you. Isn't it wonderful? I have two grandparents caring about me that first. And I had that man who was willing to take me in and let me wash dishes for him. Then I had the guy who ran the YMCA, let me stay there for that 3 weeks. These are people who invested in Dell Dace when he was just a boy. 13-year-old boy. Well, when I was in 8th grade, I had an 8th grade teacher tell me things that was not very nice. That 8th grade teacher says, I see how you live with those grandparents when we get 6th grade education. You're living among all those blacks and those Hispanics and those poor white. She was really telling me I would never amount to anything. That's what she said to me. You better go, you can't go to regular high school because you're not going to college. And you better go to regular high school because you can't go there, but they have a technical high school where you can learn a trade. Big cities have trade, vocational high schools, they call them trade schools. You go there. So I registered over there. And that September, I started as a 9th grader at the age of 13. And you could do the following things. You could learn to be a bricklayer, an auto mechanic, a carpenter, a drywall guy, a printer, and all those subjects were taught by people from industry. Big cities have unions. So the carpenters unions, the plumbers unions, the auto mechanics unions, they developed the curriculum so that you go there for 4 years, you finish what they would call an apprenticeship, and you got a job when you finish high school. This is back in 49 and 50, so that's a long time ago. Now, then they had commercial art. And it was taught by people from commercial art studios. And you go 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock to that school. Then you have lunch. There were 5,000 students in that high school. 1,100 students in my graduating class. 1,100. So, in the morning you go at 8 o'clock, and it's an 8-hour day school. You're there from 8 o'clock to 4:30. And we have some sports and stuff. I'll tell you about that later. So here we are. 8 o'clock, 4 hours, you're your chosen major. If you're an auto mechanic, you were down auto mechanic shop. If you're a carpenter, a bricklayer, whatever it was, your major, you were learning about that. So none of us were going to college. We're all poor kids. All of us. Nobody in their families ever went to high school, like my grandparents did. So we're all in the same boat, so to speak. Then we'd all go to lunch. Now I worked in the lunchroom, scraping other kids' garbage as they go by because I got free lunch behind doing that. After that all's done, they had 4 lunch hours to take care of 5,000 students. I worked 3 in the lunchroom. And then after lunch, we go to our academics. Then we have regular teachers who have degrees in math and science and history and that sort of thing. And they taught us in the afternoons until 4:30. So that's how we did our day. Half a day in your major area, half a day in your academics. When that was over, then we didn't have a big football team because they were preparing you for life. So they had lifetime kind of sports. There was golf and tennis and running and swimming. And they had a bowling alley. I learned to swim in that school. It was part of the physical education, PT2 classes. I learned to run there. And I'll tell you about that in a little bit. So here I was at this high school for 4 years. Thank you. 4 years. And while I was there, guess what happened? The Lord just opened door